The Obama campaign isn't taking its foot off the gas. After hope and change in 2008 is tough talk, the way to go in 2012. For more on the battle over Bain, taxes, and crony capitalism, I'm joined now by Ben LaBolt, National Press Secretary for the Obama campaign. Ben, thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Morning, Luke. Thanks for having me.
So your campaign has gone the route of attacking Mitt Romney for his record at Bain, asking him to release his tax returns. John Dickerson from Slate had an interesting observation about that. He said the following, quote, "If Barack Obama wins this election, he's going to win ugly. Job creation is anemic. Voters think the country is going in the wrong direction, and the president has been unable to convince them otherwise. So the path is clear. Destroy your opponent and pander to your base. Obama, Juan Kenobi, it's your only hope." We all saw those rallies in 2008, President Obama decrying the politics of division, the first purple president. Have you guys completely thrown that out the window, and are you going for the jugular on Romney, playing this type of tough campaign?
Well, we appreciate John's Star Wars advice, but I don't think that's what the president has been focused on. I'd refer you to the speech in Cleveland and his stump speech every day on the trail, where he talks about two competing economic visions. Voters will have the opportunity to break a stalemate at the polls in November between a president who believes we should build the economy from the middle class out by investing in education and research and development and infrastructure and clean energy, and Mitt Romney, who believes that we should continue to reward the wealthiest with special breaks, strip back oversight of banks and polluters, and assume that the market will take care of the rest. We believe that's a failed economic policy. We tried that in 2001 and 2003 by passing those tax cuts for the wealthiest, and it led to the slowest job growth we've seen since World War II. So ultimately, this is about two contrasting economic records and economic philosophies.
But what is it within your record that you can definitely run on and sell to the American people, with the exception of killing Osama bin Laden? What is there? Because it seems that the focus has been on attacking Mitt Romney, not trumping up the president's own record, except to saying he would defer all the bad that Mitt Romney would do. What can you guys run on specifically?
Well, the president talks a lot about his record at campaign events. I think if you take a look at one of his speeches, at least half of that speech is about his record. It's about the fact that the nation faced historic challenges when he came into office. We were at the brink of another depression. The auto industry was on the brink. The manufacturing sector was in decline. And because of decisions that this administration made, we've made significant progress. Businesses have created more than 4.3 million jobs. Manufacturing was in decline since 1997. Businesses have now created over 500,000 manufacturing jobs, and that's because of decisions that the president made, like to bet on the American workers in rescuing the auto industry when 1 million jobs were on the line, and Mitt Romney said we should let Detroit go bankrupt. Mitt Romney is campaigning against the American people when he says that he wants to repeal the Affordable Care Act by a 10 to 15-point margin. The American people disagree with him, and he's proposed no alternative. He says he's campaiigning on replace.
Well, the Affordable Care Act,
repeal, but he's just campaigning on repeal. He has no replacement.
There's a lot of polls that show that American people are not in favor of the Affordable Care Act, especially amongst independent voters.
They're certainly not in favor of repeal, and they believe that this is a settled debate, if you look at the polling, and they support the individual provisions within it. Mitt Romney has made the central premise of his candidacy his tenure at Bain, and for the past year he's campaigned across the country telling people that he's been a job creator. He knows how jobs come and go. And so we took a look at the record that he asked us to look at, and he profited off of bankrupting companies and outsourcing jobs. And that philosophy has followed him throughout his career. In Massachusetts, he vetoed legislation that would have prevented outsourcing. And what the president talked about in Cincinnati yesterday was that his tax plan actually has additional incentives in it for companies to outsource jobs and can result in 800,000 American jobs going overseas.
Ben, I wanted to ask you, in terms of President Obama, and you guys trumpeted being very transparent when you came into office. There was a report that came out in the New York Times about how you guys specifically deal with the press. It said, quote, and when folks and with this own network and other folks in publications ask you guys questions, quote, the quotations come back redacted, stripped of colorful metaphors, colloquial language, and anything even mildly provocative. They are sent by email from the Obama headquarters in Chicago to reporters who have interviewed campaign officials under one major condition. The press office has veto power over what statements can be quoted and attributed by name. Why are you guys so fearful of being quoted honestly by the United States Press Corps?
Well, I think that piece was a little bit overwritten. It sounds like something from the movie Brazil. Look, there's no blanket policy here. Sometimes when a reporter asks to have access to somebody who's not a spokesperson, we'll work out terms with that reporter like any other operation would. But listen, what's most important is the president has plenty of access to our candidate. We have on-the-record briefings with spokespeople every day. We provide access to our senior officials for on-the-record conference calls with the press corps. The Romney campaign has not allowed the press access to their candidate with a protective pool. He's largely lived on one network. And so if we want to talk about press access and openness, I certainly think the Romney campaign has some questions to answer.
Ben LeBald, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Take care.
Thanks for having me, Luke.